Thanks Infinix for sponsoring this video. All right, so when you hear the name Note when it comes to phones, Infinix may not be the first name that comes to mind. So this is the Infinix Note 11 Pro. It's from a company that's making a wide range of phones that deliver pretty solid specs and a good experience at an affordable price. And before I get into and talk about what Infinix has to offer, I do want to thank them and also just thank you guys for watching the videos, for supporting the channel for years and years and years now. And we've got a pretty awesome giveaway to do that. We're giving away not one, but two $500 American Express gift cards to anybody who is watching this video. We make it super simple. All you have to do is just give the video a thumbs up and leave a comment down below letting us know what you would do or what you like about the Infinix Note 11 Pro. And be sure to leave your social handle at the end so I know how to contact you if you win. Super important. Leave that social handle so I know how to contact you. All right, so back to the Infinix Note 11 Pro. So as time tends to go on, the features available to the low and mid range are starting to match what we get in high-end phones, or at least high-end phones from maybe like 2-ish years ago. So while having a great display, multiple cameras, and huge battery once relegated to flagships, you can now get that at a super accessible price point. And I've been on my high horse for years talking about screens, high refresh screens, how I think every phone should have a high refresh screen. We could probably, at this point, make an hour-long video, just clips of me yelling at screens. But there is a high refresh display here, and it looks awesome. So if you don't have a good screen, it's at least hard for me to say anything nice about a phone. Luckily though, the Note 11 Pro delivers in that department. And this is, I think, the highlight of the entire phone. It's packing a 6.95-inch FHD display with a 120 Hz refresh rate and 180 Hz touch sampling rate. This is a top-end feature. We're not even talking about 90 Hz. We're talking about a full 120 Hz that a lot of very high-end expensive smartphone makers are just starting to get into. So again, the screen being the whole portal to the phone, this looks really good. If I cover the whole phone and just let you look at this screen, my thought is that you would think you are holding a $1,000 plus phone. Something that is a high-end display. It's responsive, it looks great, the colors are bright and vibrant, the blacks are really black, it gets plenty bright in direct sunlight. Gaming looks amazing on it. It looks like a really good screen. And also having an edge-to-edge display means this phone looks like a modern smartphone. It's a 91% screen to body ratio. You've got a hole punch camera, and on the back you get a range of color options, kind of a shimmery texture feature. And with that design, you're getting features that you would expect. There's a fingerprint reader on the side, which is actually pretty fast. And it does have face unlock, which sets up in a very familiar way. It's not the most secure option in the world, but it does work blazingly fast. And if you need it, the number of phones that have a headphone jack is becoming like a very small group. This has a full headphone jack, which is awesome. It's also rocking dual speakers that are ideal for like phone conference calls. I used it for that. Listening to music, playing games, all sound really solid. Like, it's not gonna blow you back with, you know, sound quality. It's a phone. But as far as dual speakers go, it does sound really good. So it never ceases to amaze me when you look at sort of the back of modern smartphones and it looks like a spider eye looking back at you. There are so many cameras slapped on the back of these things. But if you're looking for options and have sort of variants of cameras, the Note 11 Pro clearly has you covered. 1, 2, 3 cameras on the back. You can tell I've got little kids. So what we've got is a 64 megapixel main sensor, a 13 megapixel telephoto camera. So that's going to give you 2 times on the optical and 30 times on the digital. There's also a lens for helping with bokeh effect, but it's there doing its thing, especially when you are taking portrait shots. And speaking of shots, the camera from the main shooters are about what you'd expect. In well-lit scenes, the cameras perform fine, albeit a little too contrasty for my taste, and I like contrasty pictures. The camera also has an AI element to it, which is very cool, helping detect what's in the scene, and it does it pretty well, whether it's a person, a pet, landscape, food, or anything else, and then adjust the image and processing to try to take that best photo. Like I mentioned, telephoto here is 2 times, so it's nice to have. It can digitally go up to 30. It doesn't produce the sharpest images, but most phones that have extreme zooms like that are kind of in the same boat. It's nice to have if you need, but I wouldn't count on it being like the best zoom camera in the world. Mostly my use case is try to zoom in on signs so I can read things from very far away. And for that aspect, it did work very well. So the cameras here provide a pretty good range of features, but I wouldn't expect, and I want to temper expectations, so you think you're going to get the absolute best photos out of it. But like with the rest of the phone, the photos you can get here are better than almost anything else you could get just a few years ago. They are certainly usable, and in ideal situations, they do look pretty good. So all those things are great, but if the phone doesn't feel fast and zippy, what's the point? So it is running a MediaTek Helio G96 chipset. So you may not have heard of MediaTek that much in the US, but it's actually pretty prevalent around the world. Their chips play a pretty big role in taking sort of mid-entry-level smartphones and giving them sort of extra horsepower that puts them more on par with some of the higher-end smartphones out there. So the Note 11 Pro's processor is positioned actually surprisingly well for the gaming market. And that means it's fast and performs about as well as you'd expect. Any game or task you throw at it does work. It's an octa-core processor with 2 efficiency cores, and it uses AI to determine what you're doing and optimize for that. So for instance, if you're playing a game, it'll increase the touch sensitivity and decrease the phone's temperature. So beyond that, there's actually a pretty cool feature for optimization. Infinix is calling extended RAM. Basically a way to dynamically change how much RAM the phone is using. So you need efficiency, the phone can utilize 8 gigabytes of RAM, but you need more for like more intensive stuff. You actually expand to 11 gigabytes, and that's helps the phone generally stay cool, extend battery life regardless of how many apps you've got open or what you're doing. Essentially, if you're using this to play some Xbox Game Pass, which we tried, it's gonna run absolutely smoothly and the phone can scale what it's doing. So again, don't let that MediaTek name throw you, especially if you haven't used MediaTek before. It is a very decent, very capable processor. And all that capability is gonna need some power to keep it running. There's a pretty beastly 5,000 milliamp hour battery inside of all this, and it's on the bigger side, especially when it comes to phones. It's actually rare to see something with a 5 in front of it when it comes to milliamp hours. When you do need to charge though, you're going to have 33 watt quick charge built in, so you can plug in, quickly charge, and be on your way. But even still, the battery is big enough that you probably won't have to charge all that much. So all that hardware is wrapped up obviously in Android software. Infinix has their own skin called XOS 10, and it's meant to kind of give an updated look. I think there's a learning curve here to this UI. Whether or not it's for you, you can try it and make your decision. Personally, threw a skin on it, but that's the beauty of Android, you get your choice. There's one feature though here that a lot of phones are starting to include, and that's a way to share to a TV or screen. It's called the Infinix InSync app, and it lets you do exactly that. You can use it to control laptops, desktops, and smart TVs, and it's gonna give you also the ability to multitask between devices, and I think is a way to sort of supercharge your phone and kind of get the most out of it. So listen, we can be honest, phones are becoming a commodity and something new is a dime a dozen. It seems every company you could think of is making a phone and you can buy them for cheaper and cheaper. But Infinix, maybe a name you're not familiar with, is creating a phone here with the Note 11 Pro that prioritizes what I think is important to a lot of people. It's giving you really solid performance and not sacrificing on screen. And again, that is a huge deal for me. If you want a phone that is not going to break your bank, but going to give you a very similar screen experience to phones that cost 4 or 5 times as much, Note 11 Pro is an awesome way to go. So if this sounds like something you are interested in and you want to check out, I'll put a link to it down below.